All right. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, February the 22nd. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Present.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. A lot of us in the room, if you take a peek at your cell phone, make sure that's silenced. I'll do the same just to avoid some interruptions. We're going to begin, as always, with an invocation, if you care to join for that, and then a pledge immediately following. I believe we have Senior Chaplain Tom Prusnell here to do that, and then we'll follow that with the invocation.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the blessings that you give us every day here, Lord. Thank you for blessing us that we get to live in this wonderful city, this community, and we can just about see your face every day. It's so beautiful. Father, we pray that you would bless these civil servants here in front of us, they're both elected and appointed. And we're thankful that they're here willing to answer the call that we've asked them to do, and they've accepted. So I pray you'd give them the knowledge and wisdom and discernment to make those decisions, Lord. And I pray that, above all, everything they accomplish, that will bring you the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Khalid, any changes to the agenda tonight?
No changes, sir.
All right. Before we dive in, we've got some announcements and proclamations and presentations we're going to do. And then we actually have a fairly light agenda. There's only 7 items on it, which is relatively rare for us, actually. And I see a lot of people here, and I was confused because I couldn't figure out. I didn't see any item on this that equated to this many people. So happy to see you all. But I just want to make sure we were clear that I think some of you are here maybe for a Turnbull Bay thing, something in the Turnbull Estates, Turnbull Bay. So there's nothing being approved tonight. It's not even actually being discussed tonight, is my understanding, on the agenda. So I don't know where that kind of crosswire came from. You're welcome. We're going to have public participation. So if that is your time, you're here. If you want to take a minute or two and speak to it and share your concerns, we'd be happy to hear that. But I just wanted you to be understood that there's nothing in front of us tonight. We're not taking any action on it tonight. I think maybe where it came from, Colin and I were just talking, I think there's maybe some mention of it kind of buried in the city manager report as part of a development report. So anyway, so he can maybe explain that. But just so if that helps anybody, I didn't want anybody to walk away thinking that, hey, what did I miss? Because that's what I was thinking. So other than that, it's good to see everyone. So I think we're going to start off with, we have 3 announcements can't think of the word. Proclamations, thank you. We have 3 proclamations tonight. Commission, I think if we just all go down there and we can take it from there. Jason, I think you're going to lead off the first one.
You're not going to make me try to speak into this and put it up. Linda Henlin, please come up. I'd like to introduce everybody to Linda Henlin. Linda Henlin created Keep NSB Clean.
Go figure that name, right?
Go figure. You've been in our community. How long ago did you start it?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. This has been something that has been a passion for Linda. Obviously, Keep NSB Clean has to do with an environmental angle and keeping New Smyrna clean. Linda spends time almost every single day on our beach. She created a program where you can come out and meet with her, and she would get buckets and have cleanup duty on the beach almost every day. And she created a little sticker. And it's amazing, the military creates a badge, what people will do for that badge. Linda created a little sticker, and it was amazing. And from Linda's words, it was amazing what people would do for a sticker. So Linda created this program, and she has everything from buckets and little devices to pick up the trash with, to people who can bring a bucket to certain designated restaurants and get a reward for it. But it's Linda's passion and that really brought her here today. And I like to joke with her. I call her an activist. I don't think she's much of an activist, but I do call her an activist. And there's two things that I usually experience with an activist. Unfortunately, too many times, or all too often, people develop a passion, but the passion is so strong that they get tunnel vision. And a lot of times, at least in the capacity that the commission serves in, you meet a lot of people in a community where they're so passionate, but there's so much tunnel vision. They're very difficult to try to work with because they won't see anything any other way. But then there's Linda. And then on top of that, a lot of times what happens is people like Linda are a complete pleasure to work with. She knows her stuff. And on the other spectrum of that, a lot of times people become very passionate and they don't know exactly all the facts. Linda has continuously impressed me with not only her ability to deal with difficult people, to make her program work for everybody. But I've met nobody who has as much knowledge and a passion that she has. When it comes to the environment, everybody has an idea. They've heard something, read something, seen something. But Linda, you've been an absolute pleasure to always work with because you're so knowledgeable in what you're doing and what your project is and your environmental activism. And for that tonight, I am glad to honor you, myself, the City Commission, the Mayor, and the people of New Smyrna Beach, the Citizen of the Year Award from the Volusia League of Cities. Thank you. Would you like to say something?
Well,
Putting you on the spot, of course.
thanks. You call me an activist. My friends call me trashy lady. That occurred to me. I guess activist is a better word. But I want to turn around. Keep NSB Clean has never been about me. It's always been about community and volunteers and people who will take the time to do something good. And I'd like to turn around and dedicate this to all those people.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. All right, gentlemen, hang out for another minute. Bob, I think you've got something.
Thank you, sir. I want to invite the chairman from the HPC to come up and join with us. So just to let everybody know, we issue awards annually to properties and promote the city's pride and the past. It's eligible to any property that's got a building that's 50 years old or older. So if you have any properties that are 50 years old or older, you can also apply for this award. We did not receive any applications for the non-residential category this year. So back in January, the Historic Preservation Commission voted 5-0 to actually recommend this City Hall Annex building that you're sitting in tonight to receive that award. So I have that award, and I'd like to present it to the mayor and the commissioners.
We don't get to vote. We didn't vote on this. I didn't even know what had happened. Somebody told me. I think you may have told me at some point. But certainly I think the entire commission and the community can be proud. And I've said it before. I think this building, what we did here, kind of encapsulates New Smyrna. We took something old that was kind of going out of service, past its useful life, but still meant something to many in the community. It was a landmark in the community that many had driven past and maybe even been in over the years, and brought it to a new life and gave it a new life for a whole new generation for many, many years to come. And that's what we're in today. For those who don't know, used to be a church, I guess, at one point. And then the city purchased it and refurbed and left some things, though, some architectural elements. Many of the things you see in the building are, original to the building in some ways, the beams, et cetera. So, and then even the decoration, I think the staff and the team did a fantastic job of keeping it kind of period appropriate for what the building would have been at the time. So I think it's a great honor for the city, and thank you all. Okay, one more. And I think we have Evelyn is here. Yes, come on up. Evelyn Kraljic. Okay, we're recognizing March as Meals on Wheels Month and 55 years of service for the Council on Aging. The proclamation says, whereas the Council on Aging was incorporated in 1967 and the services were initially recreational, growing into a multifaceted agency serving over 10,000 local seniors annually. And whereas the Meals on Wheels Association of America established the National March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize this historic month, the importance of older Americans act senior nutrition programs, and raise awareness about senior hunger in America. Whereas the 2022 observance of the Senior Nutrition as well as Meals on Wheels program provides an opportunity to support the Volusia County Council on Aging senior nutrition programs that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger. And whereas for 55 years, the Council on Aging of Volusia County has been the only local nonprofit focused exclusively on providing vital services to the Volusia County seniors, and the staff and volunteers are trusted advocates to the growing number of elderly neighbors in critical need of assistance to maintain their independence. And whereas the mission of Council on Aging Volusia County is to enrich the lives of our most vulnerable elderly citizens by providing needed services that enable them to remain safely, comfortably, and in the dignity of their own homes. And the Council on Aging volunteers and staff deserve recognition, and truly they do, for the contributions they have made and will continue to make in our local communities. Now, therefore, proclaim the March 2022 as Meals on Wheels Month and urge every citizen to take time this month to honor our senior nutrition and Meals on Wheels programs by supporting these continuous efforts. And if you want to take a moment and maybe share with the audience some of the things that you do and ways that they could get involved if they would like to.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you to the city of New Smyrna Beach for this great honor. I'm so grateful to be standing here for the city to be recognizing March as March for Meals Month. Many of you probably know, I hope, that we operate out of the Live Oak Cultural Center, just down Live Oak Street. We operate our dining site there. We run our Meals on Wheels routes there. Some of you might even be volunteers, and thank you for that. We're always looking for people to help to deliver meals to our vulnerable citizens. These are people who are homebound, who also sometimes the Meals on Wheels driver is the only person that they see every day. So we do a well-being check. We make sure everything's okay. We make sure they're still in the same condition as they were last week. If not, we contact their loved one and we let them know that, hey, your mom's not doing so well, or maybe you should keep an eye on dad. We are also going to be opening our senior center for activities very, very soon. I know we do get a lot of phone calls. When are you opening back up? And we will be doing that very, very soon. We have dining sites in 7 cities in Volusia County and 4 senior activity centers. And again, we have also an event on March 31st at the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach. It's a community dance event. It's been postponed twice. It's called Dancing Through the Decades. And we'd love everyone to come out. It's a fun night. It's March 31st at the Ocean Center. And I want to thank everybody again, especially the city, for recognizing us.
Thank you. Good job. Okay. Next item is public participation. This is your chance to address the commission. It is first come, first serve. You'll come right up here. If you'll give your name and address for the record, we would appreciate it. City clerk would appreciate it. And then you have a 3-minute time limit. There's a timer there, just out of respect to your neighbors and colleagues. And so we appreciate it. With that, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa Martin, 618 South Pine Street. One, I'm just putting in a request for more money for street maintenance. We have done about 50% of we paid good money to have a street x-ray, a survey done, and then we've done about 50% of the recommendation for several years. So please, street maintenance. Two, I'm wondering, this is questions, do we have a regular schedule for maintaining and checking city stormwater facilities? And second part is, do we require any regular inspection for HOA stormwater facilities? So just to see, are they going to work if we need them? Okay. Also, then the next one is request for land development regulations. One, I understand that we do not have any prohibition for projecting signs, so you can attach something to your building and light it up, and we got no problem with that. I would request that we not have projecting signs. And also, right now, our land development regulations have a very subjective request for earth tone colors in commercial. And I would like to see LRV used. That's the light reflective value. There's two reasons. If you set it at a percentage, like all your LRV for 80% of the building has to be 65 or higher. It keeps a nice light tone to the city without mandating a specific color, but you're not going to have black or dark green. Also, it has the higher the LRV, the more reflective, and we use less electricity, which helps out the Utilities Commission. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good comments. Others? Yes, ma'am. Come right ahead.
Just get settled here. Good evening, Mayor Owen and City Commissioners. I am Catherine Fine, a resident of the Turnbull Estates subdivision.
If you'll make sure to talk into that mic so everyone can hear
Okay.
you. Yeah, thank you.
My name is Kathy Fine. I'm a resident of the Turnbull Estates subdivision. And I'm here with my neighbors. Would everyone please stand who's from Turnbull? Okay.
All right.
We are all here together as one voice.
Who's in the neighborhood right now? That's the
So we are the residents of Turnbull Estates, Turnbull Villas, the residences, and Osprey Cove. We are here this evening to address the possible development of 10 acres that is proposed for an entrance off Turnbull Cove Road. Our community was first built in 1987, surrounding a privately owned golf course. We have grown to over 400 homes, 800 residents, and has stopped growing since 2007. We are an established community for over 20 years. We have potential safety and hazardous concerns with this project going forward. Increased traffic through a retirement community, We have disabled veterans, elderly that walk with safety equipment. We have one entrance. This is the only access to enter and exit this community of our homes. The golf course is just in from the entrance with immediate turns in and out of the parking area of the course, and result in danger. More traffic will be more congestion at the entrance and exit and result in danger driving in and out of the Turnbull Estates, as visibility traveling east or west on Turnbull Bay Road is already a hazard and visibility. We have a serious issue with our roads, its capabilities to handle the traffic. As of now, when vehicles are parked on the side of the road, we are not able to just pass through. Cars must stop and make sure before there's enough space to move on. Emergency vehicles would not have access if cars were parked on both sides of the street. Speeding is also a danger in the community. We had a traffic survey done about 4 or 5 months ago. The placement of the machine was on Turnbull Estates Drive, closer to 3/4 of the road up, versus at the entrance of the estates, because we have also Turnbull Lakes Drive where all the traffic goes. So the placement of it really only got 30% of the traffic. If you don't mind, we don't have anyone else really speaking, if that's okay.
Commission's okay with that if you're speaking for all those folks? Yeah, well, let's go a little bit.
And
back.
only entrance to the project causing hazards to and from only entrance point. The safety of our residents are a concern. This development has been established for 34 years, built on a quality of living. People moved here for its safety of walking, jogging, bicycle, exercising their pets, or push a stroller. A perfect balance of homes and a neighborhood of safety and natural habitat living. The acreage in question has been a nature preserve, which borders up to 2 other preserves. We have much wildlife that live here: gopher turtles, bald eagles, sandhill cranes, along with wildlife of Floridian birds, and many, many more. An environmental study was done by the developer. We would like to request a third-party environmental study to be done to ensure that our quality of our New Smyrna Beach continues to enhance the natural habitat of our community. New Smyrna Beach has taken pride in preserving our nature of Old Florida, a jewel of our state. As stated in the beginning, we, the residents, are coming to you, the City Council, to look at all the concerns of safety to our residents, the hazards it may cause to the community. And we have been having discussions with an attorney, doing our homework to help preserve our neighborhood of balance. And, I just wanted to say we knew that it wasn't on the agenda. Yeah. But we knew it was working. It was in the planning and zoning. And we thought, as a group, to come now so that you're aware of the things that you might not even realize that are in the community and the concerns that we had. So I want to thank you for your time. And I also want to say, it was sort of nice to have all of us here, because then we see what the council actually does and gives recognition to people. And it's sort of nice to, you're in your home, you don't really come to them. So it was nice to see that. Thank you.
Pastor Pete, 615 Washington Street. I was here about a month ago requesting that $500K for our educational building through CRA. Since then, I've kind of talked with the CRA director. He seems a little apprehensive, as if y'all gonna say no. So I'm here to, again, ask you to reconsider or to consider or to, since no one contacted me, I don't know if we're even considering it, but we really would like to have the educational building renovated using the CRA. It's in the CRA district. It's in the west side. We only have a couple more years before you're supposed to have west side priority. This is for our kids. I'm speaking up for our young people. We're investing in senior citizen homes, but we need to be investing in our kids. And we've been doing that now for some 15 years since I've been back here. We started on Canal Street in that little building that's now Aunt Cat's restaurant. We then purchased the building that's now on Dutch Street. We've had the parking lot done, we've had the streetscape done, and now we need the building done. On the left side of our building, the south side, that classroom actually slopes down to the ground. It'll be another 5 to 7 years before I can develop it at the rate that I'm going now. So there's funding available. We would like for you to do that. Gave $425,000 to Housing Authority, $600 to a splash park. We've just spent money on a parking lot and a streetscape. Let's invest in our kids. We're a very quality program. You can come out anytime and check us out. My wife, as a matter of fact, she's on the boards for the Early Learning Coalition. She serves to help with the accreditation. I believe she's on that. We use actual curriculum from our infants all the way through our K through 12. We're looking at summer enrichment programs. One of the problems we have in New Smyrna Beach is there's nothing for our kids, no summer programs of that magnitude from the age of 15 up, and that's a big problem. We're trying to solve that. We need some support. I don't think $500K is a whole lot to ask for, considering how much we got in the big pot of things. I believe that's just a kick in the bucket. Y'all know I want to talk about the splash park, but I'm running out of time. Y'all know how many people use that. We will use this every day as long as I'm living and breathing, and it will benefit. Y'all know Facebook be listening to us, so I'm just going to leave y'all with this. Let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there's a private hope and dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strengthen our nation. John F. Kennedy. Something to think about. So, hope y'all call me this week. I'm looking for you.
Any others for public participation? Yes, ma'am. Come ahead. Oh, it's not coming. All right. Sorry. False alarm. Okay. All right. With that, we will close public participation. Thank you all for coming out. I will share briefly, and Baba C is still over there. For those of you that came out for that, I see here, it's the Overlook at Turnbull Bay, I think is the project. It looks like it's been to staff. Staff issued some comments. So it's already kind of in that early review stage. I think you all are very, very good to be, monitoring this from the get-go. So it got kicked back from staff with comments on the project. That's kind of the first layer, is it's got to get past staff. That's kind of the base layer, and then it will progress through the review by P&Z. Ultimately, it's noted here that it will come to the City Commission as a final approval. And at that point, we'll have a dialogue on, have a dialogue on the project and the impact and the vested rights of the property owner versus what they're asking for, and those kind of conversations. And at that point, you'll be well versed on it, no doubt. If you're already this engaged, I'm confident we'll see you all again as this goes through the process. But happy to have you follow along, and if you need any more information on that, Bob or Khalid can keep you up to speed on that as it goes through the process. So
It's all right, Mayor, you can say that. You can say, kick it over, you district commissioner right here to my left.
And is that you? Yeah, and your district commissioner, Jason, Vice Mayor McGurk here. And the last thing I was going to say is a little shout out to, these meetings are all recorded and they're live streamed. So we got multiple cameras live streaming. You can go right to the city website and find that live broadcast, or you can go back later at any time and watch it, and you can go right to like a particular agenda item, and that's our meeting and the P&Z. So if you ever miss one or you can't get everybody here, and your impact does make your presence does make an impact, but if you ever can't be here, that's another way to follow along, or if you miss one, you can catch up, if you will. So with that, we're going to move along. If you have to slip out, we ask you to do so quietly, but you're welcome to do so. But again, fairly short agenda. So consent agenda, we have 7 items. Does anyone wish to pull any item from the consent agenda? We'll begin with Commissioner Colodi.
I'd like to pull 6A. I have a comment on 6B and 6D.
Go ahead and make your comments. We'll pull 6A. Go ahead and make your comments on B and D.
6B, we're awarding a contract for improvement of water quality into the Indian River Lagoon. I read in the newspapers about this town doing this and this town doing that and the state doing everything. But we never seem to get credit when we spend out of our own pockets hundreds of thousands of dollars to improve the water quality that goes into the Indian River Lagoon. In this particular case, we're taking untreated water that comes out of our industrial areas. We're putting in a water quality basement so that we have better water flowing into the lagoons. There was an unfortunate incident with a manatee getting stuck in a canal and expiring. When this water quality basin is done, there'll be better water, and hopefully if he makes a wrong turn and goes up that canal again, he might live long enough to be rescued. But that's my comments. We deserve credit. We don't always get it when it comes to the local newspapers about the improvements we're doing. On 6D special event, Canal Street Nights wants to extend their program, which they've been doing a good job on. I would like to see a progress report from them after another event or two to see how the attendance is holding up and if there's anything that they learned from this program that we could benefit from. We're spending $25,000 to make improvements there. That's a very small amount of money. We really have to look over their list. We could use a restroom out there. We could use some other more expensive works. I look at it, I see to bring Canal Street back up to the level it was to service the various types of businesses we have in there now that we didn't have before, we're going to have to be spending a lot of money, maybe $500,000. Money that will be well spent. The last major improvement has lasted, I don't know, maybe 20 years. We got to look to invest that type of money to last for a longer period of time. I'm going to speak later in my comments about the American Rescue Act, where we've been giving cash. I would like to see us use that within the parameters that they have given to us for various projects, whereas if a program like Canal Street doesn't comply with that, we will be able to budget our own money to move ahead. So I think we really have to start looking a little farther down the road.
Okay. So we pulled item A, and the other were just comments. So item A is pulled. Commissioner Sacks, anything to pull or any just brief comments on anything before we vote?
I'll reserve a brief comment for my commissioner's report on 6B. I'd like to comment or question staff on 6D. Do we have a sign-off from the police department for that event? I did not see one. Perhaps they missed it.
Commissioner Sacks, yes, I did check with the police chief. He signed off on it. I forgot to bring the copy with me to bring it to you, but I have it in my office signed with some conditions regarding the open container, but otherwise he signed off on it.
Okay, so we are allowing an open container, but we're not allowing travel up and down the street with
No,
those
we're not
containers.
allowing open container.
I just want to be sure. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's all I have.
All right, so no, didn't pull item D, just had
No,
that comment.
just
Okay.
a comment.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor.
Nothing, Mayor.
6A also.
Okay, so item 6A is pulled. To have a motion to approve the consent agenda items B through G.
So move.
Second.
We'll take the second from the Vice Mayor, City Clerk.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
And item 6A, Commissioner Colodi.
This is an agreement for a new restaurant that replaces an old restaurant. And basically, they're proposing to do the same type of treatment. I do get some comments from the neighborhood that they basically follow all the rules and they have planters that delineate the extent where they can put the tables in. Unfortunately, the type of material that they've used for the plants extends out into the 5 foot we've reserved for the public. So I just want to make sure that our staff is aware of that and that they monitor it, and if those plants get out of hand, that they be cut back. That's basically it. There's another facility in the same basic area that also takes up the entire sidewalk, not in operation now, but when the new owners come back, I'll have the same comments on that.
Okay. I will make sure the applicant understands that the planters and everything need to make sure they keep a 5-foot distance between the curb.
They've done a wonderful job with the restaurant. I like that. They're probably not even aware that they have to provide a little more attention there, but I thank you for that.
Yeah, so my first concern about this was the enforcement of the actual sidewalk, because we've seen several other restaurants in the area that don't actually comply with the 5-foot rule. You know, by the end of the night, tables are everywhere. And my concern is about the enforcement, because our code enforcement officers are usually leave by the 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So, you know, going forward, are we going to start looking at maybe changing their hours so that we can enforce this more often? Because that's a concern of mine, is that several times I've been to some of these and tables are in the middle of the sidewalk, people going around both sides of them. So, you know, if we're going to allow them, then there needs to be an enforcement part of this also, or a compliance part of this. I'm going to quit saying enforcement and start saying compliance.
What we can do is we can send them a letter. We'll send everybody we have agreements for currently a letter, and then we'll notify code enforcement, see if they keep an eye on that.
And then the second issue is, they have the tables out there tonight, and we haven't approved them. So for that reason, I will not support it.
Commissioner Clody.
Yes. I had a comment. I'm trying to recall what I wanted to say.
It's just a
You
second ago.
stopped talking too soon, basically.
But while he's thinking, we can also terminate these agreements. So we would just have to give them 30 days written notice. It's with or without cause. So
Okay.
we also have that option.
But is that solely on code enforcement, or is that on our observation? I mean,
It just says the city, and I'm thinking Bob is probably in touch and on top of all of these things, that he would be able to send that letter out. Not that I'm volunteering him, but I know he's very in tune with this.
Right. So we're going to send a letter out to everybody, let them know that they agreed to a certain rule to make sure they're not violating that rule, and we'll make sure they'll understand that this body here can take that away at any time.
and we are watching.
And I also think, I recalled what
All
I
right,
was
go ahead.
thinking about. Sandwich boards, we allow sandwich boards in various areas out in the sidewalks. This agreement doesn't specifically say, although it's my understanding, that sandwich boards have to be within that seating area and not out on the sidewalk. So, and I think that should be in the agreement, because that's a little bit contrary to how we treat them elsewhere, where we have 10-foot sidewalk.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve items? Actually, I did want to ask, so the restaurant basically reopened. This is where That's Amore used to be, right? Am I thinking of that place?
No,
Atlantis Bistro.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
other corner.
Got it, the other corner, got it. So one restaurant closed, another one basically went back in, started operating the same way the other ones were prior to getting this agreement in place, is where we're at. Do we know how long that has been going on?
I can answer that. So the actual existing restaurant actually sold their lease to another restaurant. So the restaurant that was there, she retired, she sold her
Sold out.
current lease that she has active, and so,
So they just kept following the same procedure?
and that was in November.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with you. I mean, I've called people out publicly. I don't like the whole ask forgiveness, not permission thing. This one to me is a little different in that somebody assumed an operation. They've just been operating. They may not even have known this. In some cases, you got some staff person just drags the table out. I don't know, but I'm not.
They filled out the application and knew it was on the agenda tonight, so.
No, I know, but I'm saying, I don't know if they knew back in November. I'm saying that, I don't know that they've just willfully been ignoring it, as we've had in other cases where somebody just basically said, I'm gonna do this, and then we had to kind of call them to task. So, you know, Bob, how did this come in front of us? Did somebody reach out to them and tell them, hey, you gotta do this, or do you know?
Yeah, so when they took over the business and they applied for their BTR, we told them that they're going to have to do an agreement before they have the outdoor seating.
Okay.
And so they had to track down the property owner because they have to sign the agreement, including them, and they did that, I'd say, early to mid-January. and this is just the
Okay.
city commission agenda for us to get them onto.
So they made good faith efforts, so in this case, I mean, you know, everybody vote your conscience. I'm just saying, in this case, I don't, it's not quite the same as we've had in other cases where people just did what they wanted to do and then, you know, asked forgiveness later, so. All right, we had a motion to approve. Did we have that or no?
No, but
Okay.
we'll-
Oh, sorry, comment, go
I
ahead.
need to make a comment
Sure.
here. You know, we grant license agreements, the ability to use right-of-way, and then I drive down Canal Street and see that the street is taken up with planters, sandwich boards, tables and chairs. I wonder, can a person walk through them, let alone get a wheelchair through? So I would ask that the owners of these businesses and our staff monitor carefully what we allow people to do on our streets, especially for those who can't get around that easily. Let's really, you know, let's have some leniency, but don't give away the farm.
All right,
That's the right term to use.
do I have a motion to approve item 6A?
Yes, I'll make that motion to approve the license agreement, if that's what it's called, with the provision that we add in there the statement that all sandwich boards must be kept within the seating area and not out in the 5-foot sidewalk area.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Do I have, city clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
No.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item approved, consent agenda approved. Gentlemen, for the first time, probably in recorded history, maybe there's no agenda item under 7, 8, or 9, no first, second, or third readings, no new business. We have boards and commissions. City clerk, do you have a report on this one?
Yes, the city clerk's office has 2 positions up now that are expiring on March 3rd. So we have not had or received any recent applications for the Code Enforcement Board. I did reach out to the members. They are both interested in signing up again for a 3-year term. If you remember last year, we had extended, we had a couple vacancies. Michael Slayton was going into his 8th term. City Commission decided to give him the unexpired term for 1 year, which is ending right now. But both of these positions that are vacant are 3 years, and they are both interested in continuing to serve. So we're asking for a waiver for Member Slayton, if you so choose, and to reappoint also Kathleen Brown.
So Kathleen Brown does not need a waiver.
No, she's going into her second
Michael
term.
Slayton does. And just, that's a 2-year, should be a two-term limit?
That's 2-term
normally?
limit, yes.
All right, so we're just a hair over that, at 8. This will be 9. But I guess nobody's applying to be on the Code Enforcement Board, so. All right, do I have a motion to, what's the motion on it? What's the commission's pleasure? Commissioner Clody?
No, I would be willing to make a motion, and I do, that we grant the waiver for the one member who's been there for 9 terms, and that we approve both members for their positions for.
So a motion to reappoint both members and waive the term requirement on Michael Slayton. Do I have a second?
Second.
If no discussion, city clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown and Mr. Slayton, for your willingness to serve on that board. All right, mayor and commission reports. We'll begin with the vice mayor as always.
Seems like we just got the meeting started.
I know, it's very weird.
I don't have any comments right now.
Okay. Yep.
All right, I have a couple comments. I know that we talked about earlier in some staff discussions about a code compliance officer. You know, I know those are one of the positions we're trying to fill, so forth and so on. But we have a couple of leases out there that the city currently leases property to other people, and we put requirements on those people, and there's one that I know of that isn't complying with their lease agreement. That being the tennis club. They're supposed to keep those.
You said isn't or is?
It isn't.
Isn't, okay.
You know, they're supposed to maintain those buildings in a near perfect condition, and reports that I'm getting from both myself, staff, and members that are out there, that's not being done. So we may need to remind them of that. And also, I believe that with the Boat and Ski Club, they were supposed to provide us with an annual report on their outside activity and the times that they were doing. So I just want to make sure that we don't lose track of that. Certainly, I know we're trying to get there, but I just don't want to get 2 to 3 years into this lease and citizens start coming, well, you guys asked them to do it. Why are you not following through with that? You're not doing your job. So those are a couple things that I'm concerned about. The other thing was I had the pleasure of going to Chisholm Elementary on Monday, and Miss Miller, who's the teacher there, who was born here, raised here, grew up here, went to high school here, was taught by Miss Linda Cuthbert, was one of her students in high school, was not only selected as the Teacher of the Year for Chisholm, but she's also the Volusia County Teacher of the Year. And they awarded her with a new Mitsubishi to drive for the year through one of the local dealerships, which I thought was quite amazing in that, and she's a fairly young woman, and that she accomplished that both through her peers and also through peers through the county. And she was also awarded this car. So that was quite a delight for me. The students were all out cheering her along. The school board members were all there. But the interesting part of this was she attended her first NASCAR race, the weekend before. And when they put her in the car and she's driving around the bus pickup line, which is an oval, I'm going, put the pedal to the metal and turn left. Hope she negotiates this thing safely. So everything was good. The students were certainly appreciative of it. I know she was, and it was great to see local people, doing well in our local community and staying here, working here, living here, and providing for our students that are here. So I certainly do appreciate that, and that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Colodi.
I got a list. I saw a light agenda.
I did the same, so I'm right there with you.
Okay.
We'll still get on it.
Yes, we will. One of the things I would like us to look into, and I may have raised it in the past, but the way we handle parking and parking standards, it just doesn't make any sense in the real world. Parking is to the benefit of anybody who visits town, as well as the businesses themselves. I think we have to seriously look at establishing a parking fund. We have a type of fund down on Flagler Avenue, which gives us a little bit of money, but really doesn't solve any problems. We should look at a way that either businesses contribute, we charge money for certain things, or we have the business owners look into it, because we had the opportunity to spend $350,000 to purchase a piece of property down on Columbus Avenue, and we couldn't pull the trigger on it. So that property's gone. If we had monies available, we could have conceivably moved ahead with that. So I would like the staff to look into it, and at some point in the future, bring it back. I have spoke with our manager about this. Second thing, land development ordinances. I've been saying this probably every 2 meetings. We need to make changes. I've spoke briefly with the staff, with our manager, our attorney. We're missing out. Here you had a room full of people came in here earlier looking to put a pickleball court somewhere out in the west side of our city. Nowhere in any of the PUDs where thousands of homes are being built was any land set aside for public use. Whether we paid for it or they paid for it, without the land, you can't go anywhere. We spoke about using a tract of land in Corbin Park area. That's fine. When that's gone, where are we going to go? We really got to change our ordinances to let these developers put some money in play for that. If they're building 600 houses, it's a small piece of change for them to set something aside for people who move into their communities as well as the rest of the town. We talk about projects. We went through a couple presentations earlier which had a lot of good ideas. What I would like to see us try to do, we got the American Recovery Act plan sending us cash. I would like to spend some of that cash, obviously, on projects that are allowed to go in. And if we could divert some of the other funds into things like a pickleball court or other areas that the American Act will not apply for, I would like to do that. We got to think ahead. There's time limits on spending the money that people are giving to us. I don't want us to miss out. I want us to move ahead with these projects and get the full benefit of it without taxing our own citizens. Last thing, I think it's the last thing, is as part of the land development changes, I would like to see if we can get the developers to fund some of the experts that we need. Our staff is very good, our engineering staff, our planning staff, yet they're limited in time, and you look at that development activity report, how much they have to deal with. When we have a situation such as we had at the Borrow Pit, where we didn't have the expertise on our side to put forth our true case, we lost. We did our best. We're not going to have something that most citizens don't want, but we have to have the ability to get the environmental experts, if that's the case, such as the Turnbull community is looking for. They're concerned about the environment. We don't have the expertise to really do a deep dive into what's going on out there. So that's another thing I think we should look at in land development changes. The last thing is had a little difficulty with one of our advisory boards not having enough members to hold meetings. And the standards, I spoke with the clerk on that. She put forth a lot of effort last year into updating those standards, and we basically didn't do anything as commission members to really move that forward where it can operate better. I'll stop there. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I wanted to reserve an item from the consent agenda that has been on my mind for 12 years, quite a bit longer than I've been sitting here on this dais, and that is all about water quality. Thankfully, we're at the stage where we have a approval for a water quality project. We have a contractor for a water quality project. What it will do is sequester storm waters, which have phosphates, nitrates, other toxic chemicals, which we do not want to go in the lagoon. Thankfully, the Indian River Coalition, the Department of Environmental Protection, the County Council, our sister cities, Oak Hill, Edgewater, have all agreed to do a reasonable assurance plan. And so for us, it's our water quality improvement project. Now, gentlemen, I would like to say that this is a beginning for us. I'm not sure that we can keep up with all the growth, which causes, unfortunately, growth can cause pollution. And it is. The stormwater that comes off impervious surfaces mostly goes into the river. And do we actually have the quality infrastructure to make that stormwater that goes into the river as clean as possible? I'm very hopeful that this project will do just that, improve the water quality for our future, for our children. I see Kyle is in the audience. Kyle, you look younger all the time. I think you've been there as long as I have, dealing with, I think it's Edmund Jones, the company that's been helping us. But again, gentlemen, this is just the beginning, and we need to do more projects like this. I had requested that 12 years ago to have a basin management action plan, which measured the total maximum daily loads of those nitrates, phosphates, and it was a haphazard sort of movement on the county's part, on DEP's part. They were playing hardball, frankly, and postponing and waiting. It turns out the county had found sites that were not even being inspected. The water was not inspected. So consequently, we still have septic tanks which flow right into the river. I don't want to go 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I want us to keep going forward to improve the water quality. And what I hear is if we stay on track and keep doing these quality projects, it may take 15 years. If Mother Nature cooperates and our cities cooperate and our developers cooperate and people who fertilize their lawns and walk their dogs cooperate, we can have the clean waters again that we used to have. It is true, those water bodies of national significance are impaired. And my goal and hope is that we can, as a body, improve those as our epitaph and for our future children. Thank you, guys.
Well said.
That's all I have.
All right. I also saw a light agenda and thought I would just take a second to address something. So actually a couple of things really, really quick. On the advisory boards, I was just going to mention, I've talked to staff about something, been working, there's some citizens that have been working on something. I've been in touch with them. I think they're going to reach out to the rest of the commission, so you all should hear from one or more to bring something forward at a future meeting, and then hopefully give us some something to consider on that. So I agree. I want to take action. I wanted to have a kind of a codified plan. I think staff has seen a preview of it and had some positive feedback. So I saw it, liked it. So we'll see where that goes. But that should be coming to you all sooner than later, and then we can figure out where we go from there. But the other thing I wanted to say is, and she didn't speak in public participation, but this is Ashton's last meeting with us. She's represented the Board of Realtors at the city for a while now. We've seen her. She's been the trooper that's at every meeting wire to wire, most every meeting wire to wire. But she got an opportunity, recently married, got an opportunity over in Tampa, I guess it is. So we'll be moving away. So it's the last time we'll see Ashton, but it's been great to get to know you. Wish you all the best. Yeah. And I think I think the person she suckered into taking the position is right next to her. Just as a fair warning, you'll never see another 7:30 and Warren Mayor and Commission comments probably ever again. So just this is an anomaly, all right?
That's how we lured him in, right?
Exactly, yeah. You picked the one meeting, right? So the one thing I wanted to talk about, though, and I've said this before, and Colin and I have talked about it numerous times. We basically now end almost every briefing with touching on some element related to staffing. And when I say staffing, I mean Colin and his team, the folks that work out in and among the city. And I want to make sure that, and I've said it publicly at the State of the City and others, but I want to make sure, for me, you're going to hear me say this a lot. This is my number one issue starting from here until I feel like we've made significant progress. And I think we've got a lot of work to do. I think we, the 5 of us, and the team have a lot of work to do. Commissioner Colodi was just talking about some stuff. I believe, and Colin and I talked about this, I believe that we are pretty much staffed for status quo. The problem is we're not in status quo mode. The commission is continually bringing up issues that we need someone to take ownership of. And Khaled can only take ownership of so much. And so right now, we've been in a mode for quite some time. And you can just look at the data, and this is no slight to anyone, but I'm just stating the fact that we've been in a mode where we're adding items to the list much faster than we're taking items off the list. And that's only sustainable without frustrations from the 5 of us and frustrations and other implications, such as turnover by all of the folks that work on the team. So, and then, turnover causes disruption because, again, we're kind of staffed at that razor's edge. any kind of turnover, any turnover causes disruption and puts us behind. So we feel like we're kind of, rather than trying to make progress, which is what we're all wanting to do, it's what we were elected to do. We're feel like sometimes we're kind of crawling out of a hole sometimes. So a couple things I've observed, and again, this is no surprise to staff. I'm not putting them on a notice publicly, just sharing with you all my observations. I think one thing filling of positions, and this is not all internal factors. We've talked about a few that I think are, but there's a lot of external factors to these. But filling of positions from vacancy to filling of position is extremely time consuming, probably more so than it needs to be. I would like to see us really, really focused on, getting that time frame down, not sacrificing quality, but getting through that interview, getting to offer status much faster. Now, I'm okay if it takes us longer because we're waiting for that top shelf candidate, but it's not okay that it takes forever to just get through the interview process. We've got to figure out a way to streamline that. I know we want a lot of input. I appreciate that, but we got to make sure we're not losing good candidates because the process just drug on long enough that they retired or something. So, and I would like to see us adding capacity. I think we should be in a mode where we're actually adding capacity. I just mentioned, we sit up here, every meeting, we add things to a list, but we haven't added capacity to deal with that. We have fewer people at the executive level right now than we've had in this city in a long time. And I know we're working on filling positions, et cetera, but I think we should be looking to add capacity. That gives staff then the flexibility. There's harsh facts are, there's low performers on every team. You take an organization of 250 people, there's gonna be low performers. If you have no capacity, leadership they don't then have the ability usually to address those low performers. They're just dealing with whoever they have. If we start adding capacity, then we can that gives staff the ability, leadership the ability to start then raising the bar. And we have the capacity to deal with that. And I think over time that pays dividends. I've seen it work. And I know one of the things when we start talking about this, we all have lived through 2008, 2009. We all dealt with, some of us, I did it. I know Colin, you did it. You probably did it as well in your business. We've lived through the times when you have to make cuts, and that makes you very reluctant to start adding back. You get burned, and so all of a sudden you're very reluctant. But I don't think we can always operate as if we're in hard times. I think we have to operate for the times we're in, and then fast forward 5 years, if we're in hard times, whoever's sitting up here at that time, whoever's in that chair at that time, will respond to the hard times. But while we're not in hard times, that's not the mode we're in at the moment. I think we have to judiciously, not recklessly, but judiciously deal with the times that we're in. So I've discussed with Khalid and Carrie some staffing and benefit ideas that I would like to see. I've challenged him and his team to examine, and I'd like to see them bringing those forward for our consideration. And some things we don't even need to consider. Some things they're totally empowered to just go implement if they think it's the right direction. And I'm sure they have a million ideas that didn't come from me. I want to see us doing that, but of course some do have budget implications. A few things just to get the wheels spinning. Again, I think adding capacity, I'd like to see us, there's a layer of management that's missing. If you look at our org chart, starting with Khalid, you look at it, it's extremely lateral, it's extremely wide. That's difficult. It's a difficult org chart. Any OD person would tell you that's a difficult org chart. So I think there's probably at least one, if not more. Colin and I disagree on this. I want more. He actually is fighting for less, but I think there's probably at least one leadership position missing, and then probably some other layers. We saw it in the leisure services, the changes and stuff. I like that direction, and that would allow those positions to be focused on some of these critical things. When Colin or Colodi makes a comment about addressing the LDR, we heard some good ideas from Lisa earlier during public comment. Some of that is not that any of us are opposed to those. It's that where do you put that in the 50,000 line priority list? So these are the people that can maybe just run with some of those, especially the quick hit items. Modified work week schedules, catering to the busy working professional, the busy working parent, the entry level worker. The thing that workers are focused on right now more than anything, pay is important, especially because we're in this hyperinflation period. But the thing that's more important, every HR study, correct me if I'm wrong out there, HR person, every HR study that's coming out right now tells you employees want the flexibility, the work-life integration and balance is paramount to everything else for them right now. And I don't want to see us fall behind, because if we fall behind, again, we're clawing back out from under that. So I want to see us getting ahead of that curve, be a leader in the public sector of establishing some of these work-life balance benefits that we see in the private sector already. I want to see us be a leader in that so that we can retain the people we have and even attract better talent when we go out and recruit. So a remote work policy. We just did remote work for a year. We know what works and doesn't work. Let's codify that policy. Let's figure out if it's something we can do. And then employee assistance programs. And this is, again, there's some budget dollars to some of this, but training, education, financial support. I mean, financial wellness is like the new benefit category that I was reading about the other night. So these are all things, I don't have all the answers, but we've got to, I believe we have to have some, as a city, as a leadership team, city staff and us, we've got to have some strategic conversations about this. And so I bring it up because, Khaled's in a little bit of a no-win situation, and he hasn't pushed for this. I've pushed it more probably than he has, because he's in a little bit of a tough spot. He doesn't want to stick his head up and then we smack it down, and then all of a sudden he's the one that asked for the new positions, and so I'm wanting to say this has my support. I support him bringing things to us. I can't say we're gonna take it all, but I want us to be progressive on this, because if not, I've said at the city commission, we can talk about all the things we want. We can have all the people show up and talk about stormwater drains and pickleball courts and everything else. But if we don't have the people to do it, and if we lose talent along the way, and we're not replacing that with at least as good or better talent, over time, the city will be on the wrong slope. And that's not what anybody up here wants to see. But I don't think we have been realistic about acknowledging what it takes to achieve the results that we are expecting. I think we've done a decent job of setting a bar, and we've called out issues. The citizens have called out issues, and this commission is trying to set that bar, but unfortunately, it's being set and the expectation is there, but it's never getting off the to-do list, and that's just capacity. As best I can tell, it's just capacity. So my hope is, I think Khaled is going to try to work on it with his team, bring us some ideas back at a future budget workshop, during the administration budget workshop. But this is a conversation, again, he and I close almost every meeting now with me bringing it up and asking where we're at on something. So I just wanted to bring it to you all so you all knew. Happy to have you all have the same conversation with them, get the feedback, share your thoughts and insights. But I hope this is something that we focus on. And if it means that we don't buy as many new trucks, and it means the mower has to make it another year, it means we have to tighten our belt somewhere else. If we don't invest in our people, I think all the rest of it won't matter in a few years. So, because it's just a different climate, and you feel it probably more than anybody else on this dais, at least. You're out there every day in the labor market. You know what's going on. It's a different labor pool in many ways, but you have a good feel for it. And I'm out there as an employee, and so anyway, so that's just it's been on my mind for a while. Again, he and I have been dialoguing for a month or more about this, so I just want to kind of put it on the radar for you all, and so we expect to see something from him in the future, and hopefully you all will receive it. And if you disagree with it, I'd challenge you. Make sure sit down, ask for a meeting with Colin, the HR director, and look at the landscape. Look at what employees are seeing. Go Google, the Great Resignation, and read about what's happening out there. Make sure we're really well informed when we have this discussion. This isn't, anyway. So I think this is a generational challenge. I think the workplace is changing in a way that we've never seen, and organizations that respond too late are going to be left in the dust for a while, and they're going to have to dig out of that and play catch up a lot. And we're already at a disadvantage because we operate in the public sector versus the private sector. I can't offer stock options in Google here, right? We're already a little bit of a disadvantage when we're recruiting the talent pool. We have to appeal to people's sense of doing their civic duty almost. We have a decent benefit package, but the pay scale compared to the private sector, there's no denying the pay scale is less. Pull our city attorney's salary versus the private sector. Pull our city manager's salary versus a similar title and position and responsibility versus private sector. It's incomparable. Benefits are a little bit better. Pay is way depressed. So we can't get any further behind. We've got to at least stay competitive in all these other areas. So rant over. Thank you all for listening. But it's something I'm passionate about. So with that, I believe the next item up is, I always forget who goes first. City manager, you're up.
Mayor, you have the city manager report. It's self-explanatory. I tend to, at the second meeting of every month, to add all these reports for you. So if you wanted to change them, maybe half and half, but I figure that at least I can give you all these reports at the second meeting. I think it gives you quite a few information that it's useful and helpful. And I want to thank you, Mayor. I think we spent quite a bit of briefings talking about staffing. And again, if I don't have the staff and I don't have the quality, that bar would not be raised. So we will take this challenge. I think we are working on some other issues as well. The idea to bring it back at the mini budget workshop when we have the administration to bring some of these ideas. Some of the ideas that we discussed, you and I, the city has tried it before, and we stopped it, I guess, in 2008, 2009. So I think it'd probably be interesting to reinvent back. I think it's a recruiting tool. It's incentives for the employees to retain as well. So we'll take the challenge and we'll bring it back. Just one thing is outside, I brought it up at briefings. We have residents who asked about a sidewalk on Kweyasisi. That is due to the bridge construction. So I just brought it up at the City Commission briefing, but I just want to make sure I have the funding for sidewalks, and this would be in that one section, so this way they have that connectivity there. So we will make whatever, if there is no connection between Barracuda and Kweyasisi to the 90-degree back to the North Causeway, we will do that as part of the sidewalk. Some of you have asked me about the sidewalks currently we have under design, such as 7th and South Street. Those sidewalks will be done before this one, obviously, because right now it's either under design or under surveying. So this one will be added. It's not on the master plan, but due to the construction, we have to have the sidewalk there for connectivity. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for the city manager on his report? Jake?
Just a quick one. Khalid, do you happen to know definitively, I understand the Florida Wildlife Commission owns the land that the Marine Discovery Center is placed on. Is that correct?
The property that the Marine Discovery Center is on, it's owned by the state. And then also the one, I guess it's on the southwest corner, that property is owned by the state as well. So if you're referring to the RV, that issue, the RV is actually sitting on state property, and based on the statute, what I heard from code enforcement and also from the city attorney, there is nothing we could do there as long as it sits on their property with their approval. I've talked to the director of the MDC, and this gentleman is actually volunteer from Canada. He was here for 2 weeks, so I think he should be leaving anytime soon. They mentioned about other RVs in the area. I have not seen them, so.
No, actually, my question was because of another reason. It's been so many years that we've assumed that it's FWC property. So many people have come to us, emailed us, made suggestions that we use it as public parking. I don't know that we have the purview. I understand that police do monitor the site for criminal activity, but other than that, we can't authorize people to park there. Am I correct?
So I think, because I brought this up before, I'll speak to it briefly, and Kyle can add if he wants. So it's not that it's a completely closed door of using it for public parking, but it would require basically, it's not within the terms of the current lease. So they would have to basically be in communication. MDC has a lease with state agency, FWC, but state owns it. They would have to be in communication with them, get approval, get blessing, figure that out, and then come back to us. We've never indicated strong enough interest that they have gone and done that, because they don't want to ask the question or open the door if the city's not even going to walk through it. So they've never taken that step. They're willing to, in my impression, but the last time it came up was a workshop pre-COVID, so whenever that was, 2019 probably. We came up and it never got enough traction from this body that the director felt like it was worth reaching out to FWC.
Okay.
So it's kind of, we don't know whether it would be an option or not, but it is an option to ask if we ever so desire.
I think just for clarity's sake, for the public to know that it is not our jurisdiction.
Correct.
Other than police.
Yeah, when it comes to issues like the RV thing, yes. When it comes to us being able to just designate a public parking, no, we can't do that. It is controlled by them. They do hold the lease, just like Walmart leases their land from whoever they lease it to.
Good to know.
Yes.
I just want to remind that I have approached Chad almost a year ago about utilizing the West parking for our overflow parking from the North Causeway. I think he approached the foundation at the time. We didn't take it officially, but I think they were, I don't think they were in opposition. The only thing is, they told us at the time, I thought that if they managed the parking and they could maybe share some of the revenue, but they were not interested in doing the management of it, so.
Yeah.
But it's still that option on the
MDC
table.
Foundation. Yeah, the MDC isn't necessarily opposed.
But the question, I think we had some, some of the residents in the area found out that we just had the initial talk, and they already kind of, they were concerned about that with the boats going to that area. But we did have talk with them, Commissioner Sachs.
Thanks, Colin.
Any other questions or comments for the city manager on his report? City clerk's report.
Yes, just one item additional to the submitted report. I wanted to bring to your attention that we have two appointment considerations for the Planning and Zoning Board on the next agenda, as well as the Personnel Board.
I know we had one resignation. Did we have somebody determined?
Yes, Planning and Zoning member Causey had to resign from that board, yes. So I have applications for that. My concern is the Personnel Board had to be reactivated. There's 5 vacancies. I haven't received that many applications, so if anybody knows of anybody interested in serving on the board, if you could direct them to me, that would be great. That's all.
Okay, any questions or comments for the clerk on her report? Hearing none. City attorney, I know you've got one item for us.
Yes, I'm going to talk to you about the borrow pit issue. If you remember, this proposed borrow pit operation was to be located at the southeast corner of State Road 4 and we've been to court 3 times on this issue, and so I just want to backtrack a little bit just to make sure everyone understands the progression of how we got to where we are right now. So where we are right now is the court has ordered us to issue the special exception use permit to the applicant by Thursday. Part of the permit issuance, we do get all of staff conditions that were recommended at the February 9th, 2021 hearing. So the way this originated, we had this special exception permit before the City Commission, so it went through staff approvals, P&Z, but the first time it was before the City Commission was in February 2020. At that time, we had a lengthy hearing, and the attorneys at the time were Glenn Storch and Mark Watts. Went through the entire hearing, Commission denied it. They appealed that decision. And the circuit court, they're limited to the record that's created below. So they looked at the record, and the judge determined that the due process rights of the applicant had been violated, and that the essential requirements of law were not met, and that's in regard to those ex parte communications. So that quashes the City Commission decision, and it came back before the Commission about a year later. And if you'll remember, between that first and second hearing, we did revise our ordinance to change the ex parte disclosure requirements, so we did make progress in that regard. So February 2021, also in the interim between the first and the second hearing, the applicant agreed to put up a mast arm at Sugar Mill and 44 and agreed to have all traffic entering and exiting at that light. The gas station property would no longer be used for traffic because there was a legitimate issue with the trucks going out on State Road 44 and making a U-turn. But they took that out of play. So when it came before you in February 2021, the application was denied again. The court looked at the record again and said there's absolutely no evidence to support the denial. At that point, I reached out to the attorney and said, okay, let's get this back before the city commission. And he declined to do that. Instead, what he did is he filed a petition for writ of mandamus. And he was asking the court to require the city. He said, look, I went through that public hearing. I met all of the requirements and they denied me. I have a right to this special exception use permit. My position was the court didn't have the jurisdiction to issue that type of order. The court ultimately decided it did have that authority to do so. And so that is where we ended up with our order today. Now, there has been some concern that the application or the lawsuit hasn't been fully vetted, but I wanted to let you know that previously when Brian Fields was here, he had reached out to a biologist and spoke to him. Colin and I have both reached out to experts, both in the legal field, the biologists, engineers, and of course, Brian and Colin are also engineers. So I can assure you that we have gotten second opinions. We've tested every theory. But at this, there's no more avenues to go down with this mandate.
And to put a finer point on that, just to clarify, so you specifically on the legal side, you got a second opinion kind of looking at where we basically have two avenues. We can, do nothing, which is, issue it and move on, or we could appeal. And the second opinion you got, so your opinion was the appeals process is going to end much the same way that everything else has ended, and a whole separate entity agreed with that assessment.
Okay, yep, so I reached out to two different board-certified attorneys as well. One of them's opinion was, the applicant was within his rights to ask for that mandate. So he doesn't think an appeal would be successful at all. The other board-certified attorney agreed with my analysis that, yes, it's an appealable issue, but you're going to be back to the same place you were on the first and the second time. And so that's why Colin and I explored talking to the biologists and the environmentalists to see, is this a viable option? Can we find environmental testimony? And we have concluded with our conversations that it's not a viable option.
So what you're saying is even if we did appeal and we won that appeal, that puts us back to them coming to us. We're saying that we don't then have any more evidence. We'd have to find some expert. We've talked to experts. We don't think the experts are out there to basically
credible
experts. Yeah, that's the key. Credible experts, not just citizens who don't want it, or even commissioners who don't want it. Because I think it was 5-0 at one point. So we've made pretty clear where our heart is, but now we have to. Now the courts are driving where we're at. So
the courts, had this before them 3 times, and the applicant has prevailed on those 3 occasions.
So I guess we need, and we'll get some discussion in a minute, but I just want to set the stage where we're at. So you need a motion from us to direct you, or what are you looking for?
So I don't need a motion. The only thing is you guys have an opportunity to discuss this. And if you guys come up with something on your own, if you want to disregard the legal opinions and, the engineer and biologist opinions, that's your prerogative. So in that case, we would do a motion to pursue an appeal to the 5th District.
All right. So we'll open it up for discussion. I saw Commissioner Sachs first. We'll go to him.
Gentlemen, if I thought that I could get a second for the action of an appeal to the court, I would make that motion. I'm not so sure. If someone would make that motion, I would certainly second it. I believe there is substantial competent evidence out there to the contrary, that a borrow pit is not an appropriate use of this land, that changes that happen to the aquifer may not have been presented by the presenters, our staff, and nothing against our staff. But I can assure you, there are experts in the field that insist that borrow pits are negative to the environment. Now, you can mitigate some of the damages, certainly, There are different quality soils, there are other ways to mitigate polluting and drowning other areas, and fending off the changing of river streams of the underground aquifer and keeping some toxins out of the water, and maybe not, especially if nobody's watching. So Commissioner Colodi is right. We need to have the people who have the knowledge to provide substantial, competent evidence. And I see you're blushing because you're smiling so widely. If you don't have that, what will happen is we will lose every time.
Yeah.
We will lose to big development, we will lose to borrowed pits that are put in the wrong place, and we'll be a wide open developer's town. So should we spend that little bit of extra money for totally outside objective opinion? Not somebody on the water management district, not somebody from our staff, not a local biologist, people out in the field who understand this deeply and should have and could have been there to provide that. So I'll leave it at that. It's a dead point. I feel, I'm not going to point any fingers, but we dropped the ball on this one.
Okay, Commissioner Colodi, I saw you next.
I'm not interested in an appeal at this point. I think we really, we went far enough on that, and the writing's on the wall. It's not going to change. My understanding is they still will be required to get site plan approval.
Yes, it does not come back to commission, though. It's a staff level site plan approval.
Okay, and the staff will be able to get whatever experts they need to make sure the site plan's approved?
Yes, we will.
Okay. My biggest problem was that I didn't feel that the applicant had proven his case regarding the wetlands and the direction of the water. Perhaps they will see the light and provide that proof. I have spoke with staff, and I will be speaking with the Water Quality District also. I don't find the borrow pit to be the worst thing in the world, because there are planning issues that do work for our benefit if it's constructed. We recently approved a change to a PUD to allow a hospital to go in across the street, which will have a very large borrow pit, probably even larger associated with it. I just ask on future applications that we really go in depth on reviewing the effects we will have on the environment and in our various other plans. At this point, I think we passed it on this issue, and we should move on. Those are my comments.
All right. Vice Mayor.
Agree with Commissioner Colodi. We did the best we can under the circumstances. The evidence, I don't believe, is in our favor. We can go further down this road and then potentially spend a lot of money and expose the city and its residents to give them a significant amount of exposure. Commissioner Colodi's right. I brought up during my staff briefing. What about the one across the street? So, I've spoken to staff. I believe that this borrow pit is going to be operated at a best practices. I would love to be able to say no. I would love to not have that borrow pit at that location. I think it's going to be messy. I think we're going to do everything we can, and I think it's going to create some problems. But at some point, you have to look at the reality that a judge has. We won once on the traffic issue. That issue got resolved. And the judge has continued to rule in favor. And I don't believe we have the cards to play to win this. So I would not want to further put the city in a legal exposure kind of situation where we may end up having significant financial consequences down the road. Thank you, Mayor.
So as you know, being the one no vote on the whole thing, I think based on the evidence presented at the hearing, we had no reason to deny those. I do not support doing an appeal. I think we had our bite at the apple. We lost. We accept the loss gracefully and move on. To Commissioner Sachs's comments, if he knows there's competent people out there that will provide the information, he's had 3 years to bring them forward, and we've done nothing. The only thing we've done is extended the 5-year moratorium on building to 8 years by dragging us out for the last 3. So I think it's in the best interest of the city to move forward with this and just accept the loss.
Commissioner, I just need to respond. If I thought I had the will to get those competent, substantial specialists, I would have brought them forward. I did not think it was my purview to do that. That is staff's. And that's why I recommend at this point, when we go forward with projects like this, that have very damaging effects on our environment, that we spend that little bit of extra money to make sure we're doing it right. Yes, I did speak to experts, but maybe like you, I did not want to drag them in. Would you want to drag an expert you asked about a subject and say, hey, will you come and speak for us? You're going to need a fee, right? You can't just have somebody come in and expose themselves to the best lawyers in the state with no compensation. And it's kind of for me, it's not right for a commissioner to ask. It's right for the commission to ask. But are we doing that wrong, or should we stay on the same path? I don't think so. I think we should be more discriminatory in how we allow people to use the land, use it properly. And I'm not sure we're watching well enough. So, yeah, if I thought it was my purview to just go grab a guy from Stetson, go grab a guy from Sea Grant, and all the other experts that say, no, this is a very bad idea, we're ruining our aquifer, and, you know, I would have called them, but I didn't think it was the right thing to do. Maybe you think it's in my purview and I should have done it, but it's just a difference of opinion.
And just a refresher, and this is relevant to one of the comments we heard in during public comment. You all sit as a judge. Your decision has to be based on what's presented here. You as a judge should not be going out and getting testimony to be presented. That's on the staff level. So, and the way this ties in is also Commissioner Colodey's comment about having that expertise on staff. You know, my concern is you can't pick and choose projects once they come in as to, oh yeah, we need an expert on this one. So I would recommend, if we're going to go down that route, that we have set criteria. If it impacts, you know, X number of wetlands, the city shall hire an environmental expert at applicant's cost or something to that effect. But we have to have the established criteria before, you know, I believe somebody in the public comment already said, you guys need to get an environmental expert. Well, we have no standards right now and the project's already in. So that's something we could look to in the future. And Derek's back there too, but so she could help with, you know, figure out like what are the projects that we would want that on.
Yeah, so my comments, like you, echo most of my colleagues. You know, I think of any project, I mean, I think we've shown great resolve by the commission to push back. So I'm gonna, you know, I think to your point, you know, it was 05 unanimously. We went through a lawsuit process, came back, we pushed back again. So I mean, I think the entire commission was united in, you know, wanting to object to this process, or at a minimum make it as best as it could possibly be. So of any project, you know, I think this was one that we had, you know, pretty unanimous support throughout it. And I think even Commissioner Hartman's support wasn't one of saying he wanted it. I think it was one of saying he sees the writing. He saw it earlier than we did. He was just ahead of his time. So I agree, though, with your comments and others. I think we've all said it in some various form. It does feel like we are outmanned and outgunned sometimes by they come in with their parade of experts and we turn to our folks who are supposed to be experts on every possible thing. And so I heard what you just said. I don't know the right answer. And again, one of those projects to add to the never-ending to-do list of how do we develop that criteria. But it does feel, and this would have been one where, I mean, if he can't bring the expert in, but he could say, hey, here's 3 people to call, that staff could explore and say, listen, we'd love to have you maybe testify on this to provide that alternate opinion. Maybe it does give us enough maybe it doesn't give us enough to stop the whole thing, but to push back on parts of it, if there truly is that expert testimony. But that's where we're in oftentimes is that, that we're dealing with, they've got almost unlimited budget and we're dealing with, asking our staff to kind of be experts across a pretty broad cross-section. We just don't, you can't have that. I mean, when they're bringing up a PhD in a very specific, form of an ant colony, we can't have an expert on that on staff. We've got to be able to go out and source our own experts. So I don't disagree with that. I'm happy to see us push forward, for that. I think it takes some pressure off staff. I think it gives us a few more tools in our tool bag. So I'd like to see us go there. This one, it's pretty clear. It's at least 3 folks that are ready to just, move on, accept the fate as it is and move on. So, yeah, so go ahead.
Whatever it's worth, but this project, it's called Borrow Pit, so it's specifically for Borrow Pit. But if you look at all these big subdivisions in New Smyrna Beach and any areas in Volusia County or Florida, they all have borrow pits. All these big retention areas, they're borrow pits.
Yeah.
And so the difference between this one and Venetian Bay, for example, or Turnbull State subdivision that people were here, that this one had a borrow pit with subdivision. This one only had a borrow pit without any development. So,
Carrie, I did have one last question. I don't want to name names, but was the ex parte the issue at the very, very beginning? Was that all 5, or was that?
The majority of you. We had gone around and did our ex parte disclosures, but when we came to the end and started talking about hundreds of emails, I think there were a couple of references to all the emails you had gotten, conversations, and that's why we changed it. Is like if someone walks up to you in Publix and starts opining on the borrow pit to you, technically under our old ordinance, you'd have to carry a book around with you, write down the date and time. This is what they said, because you have to disclose the substance. At that time, the rule was you've got to disclose the substance of the communication and give them an adequate opportunity to refute that.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. It was right at the very end. And so,
Yeah. Okay. I do think that's progress, but there's that perception. Someone can hear that and pick up on it. But they did away with this ex parte thing. I mean, look, that doesn't. We have always and always will. When people talk to us, so we represent people. So if somebody stops me in Publix and talks to me about the borrow pit, I'm going to have that conversation. But we were in a spot where there was this unmeetable standard that was above and beyond what the state of Florida required. It was just by ordinance of our city, and in this case, it actually came back to bite us in that particular case. So just wanted that clear.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
could I share? I had to take my ethics class at home remotely, and Dr. Scott Payne, I think he's a brilliant man, and I listened to a lot of things that he says. He mentioned, Carrie, that ex partes were prejudicial. They are allowed, of course, but what happens is you get to speak with an applicant, and the public really doesn't get to hear what you guys talked about. And I kept wondering, I never liked ex partes in the first place. You were made to feel uncomfortable, and it seemed like the applicant was feeling you out.
So it's not about the public not being able to hear it. It's about you hearing something about that application that the applicant did not know about. So you're hearing evidence outside of the hearing that they don't have an opportunity to refute if you don't disclose it. So our new standard is you don't have to disclose them. If you want to, you can, but your decision has to have competent, substantial evidence to support it. So in this case, we didn't have any evidence to support a denial. So that's the, you know, just by its nature, somebody coming up to you and saying, oh, well, you know, that's, how do you get around that it's prejudicial or that it's not prejudicial? You don't.
Yeah.
You know, I
So
have
we
to
took it out of play.
You know, we sat as a quasi-judicial body, we're judges all of a sudden, and a higher court overrules us. I have to abide. I don't like it. I have to abide. In fact, George Bush said that to the Supreme Court. I have to abide, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, you want to do things right for the people and make sure that we're doing the best.
Yeah. I think that's an important distinction that Carrie just pointed out, and we talked about at the time, but just since it's come up again, that notion that the ex parte wasn't about disclosure to the public, because the public hears everything that happens when we vote on the thing. That is all here. The ex parte was to protect the applicant, that we couldn't have information that they didn't. Just like, I mean, picture this as like a trial. If you got a defendant out there, the judge or jury is making a decision on something that the defense attorney didn't have a chance to refute. You know, all of a sudden you walk over the jury and you show them a piece of paper and the defense attorney has no clue what's on it. All of a sudden the defense attorney is going to be screaming foul. Well, that's the position they're in. They're saying, wait a minute, we need to know what that person in public said so that we can refute that. We all know that's just part of the business, and that's why that was an unattainable or unrealistic standard of us trying to, you know, look, if all these folks want to send me 100 emails on this, it doesn't count as evidence. It tells me where the community's at, and then I have to sit up here and sometimes look them in the eye and say, I'm sorry, you know, I know what you want me to vote, but here's what the law says, so here's where I'm at. So I think it was the right move cleaning it up, but it can be confusing, because that is the perception, is all of a sudden it's like a back smoky room with the developers. That's not what's happening here. You know, that's not actually even what this was addressing. So, yes.
One other point, just because we're here, and something to remind the public
And it's not
and the
11:30.
commission is, increased traffic alone is not a valid basis for denial. It has to be actual, like an actual safety issue. So the U-turns onto 44, that was an actual safety issue, but, you know, when we hear about it's going to be, you know, you're putting this many more cars on the road, that's not good enough. It has to be an actual safety issue. So just because I think a lot of times that's what you hear from constituents. Oh, our roads are already so busy. Well, that's not enough for you guys to deny it. So just something to keep in mind moving forward.
What we can change is the level of service that's required on our roads, though. From an E to an A. All right. If no further business for this, oh, sorry. Was that a hand or was that?
It's an observation.
All right. Do it into the mic so everybody can hear you.
When people come up to the podium there, they're speaking to us. But I would like our IT to look into perhaps putting them on the screen so the audience can hear and get a better connection with what's going on.
See, put them on
Yes.
the screens here so they can see.
Right, because you have 50 people over there looking at the back of somebody talking. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's possible.
There's one potential negative. In Daytona, they used to do that, and it turned into campaign speeches for candidates because they were.
that's a good idea.
No, no campaigning.
I don't care either way, honestly, even the campaign speeches. We've had people do it. I don't think it's appropriate. I would never do it. I also think it's a terrible use of a campaign speech because there's 22 people watching right now probably. So if that's how you're going to win a campaign, you're not going to win a campaign. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.